Hello and welcome to another Ace for Waves episode with your host, Annabelle Schneider. Today is a very special episode, and I know I say that every time I post a main episode, but today is very special because it is officially April 10th as of me recording this, and it's major season in golf. Finally, we've made it to April. If you're not a golf fan, I'm going to catch you up to speed here, but going to take kind of the headphones. I was just testing the volume here, but it is a special episode today because we are going to be talking the Masters tournament. For those fans who might not know what the Masters is, or if you're just not a golf fan in general, that is okay. The Masters is the first major tournament of the PGA season. There are four majors that happen every month from April all the way up to July. We have the Masters tournament, and then in May, it goes to the PGA Championship, the US Open, and then finally closing it out with the Open. So, four majors and 4 months. The Masters is the first, and I believe it just kind of officially kicks off the golf season, even though the season started all the way back in January, if I'm not mistaken. So, big implications here for golf, for the golfers, for the players. We have a lot to talk about regarding the 2026 Masters, some of my predictions, some of the general public's predictions on which golfers will advance and who's going to miss the cut. But first, I believe we need to recap what happened at the 2025 Masters first, to set the stage and set the tone for what this episode will be about. If you watched the 2025 Masters last year, you will know that one golfer in particular, one golfer just needed to win the Masters to finally complete the career Grand Slam. And that was Rory McIlroy. Rory hadn't won a major championship since 2014, back at, I believe it was the US Open was his last major victory. He has come close in past years. He was second at the 2023 Masters, if I'm not mistaken. He finished second at the 2024 US Open, and he was third at the the Open. If I 2024 US Open, he was second. And then I believe also back in 2023, he finished third at the Open. So he has come close to winning a major before. He had won the PGA Championship, he had won the US Open before, he had also won the Open. But that was back in between like 2011 to 2014. So it had been more than 10 years since he had last won a major championship. And he needed that Masters win to finally round out the Grand Slam. Only five other golfers have completed the career Grand Slam before. He joined Elite Company and he became the first to complete it since Tiger Woods back in 2000. But Rory got his Masters win last year. It was very emotional. I believe just it was a feel good moment and just want a weight off of his chest, getting that Masters win, finally completing the career Grand Slam, and just not having to worry about it anymore, not having to worry about the general public's perception of him, how he's been received, and just knowing that it's a weight off of his chest and he can finally play golf just with more carefree and more freeness of the world. So Rory was our 2025 Masters winner. He did win in the playoff hole against Justin Rose. They went head to head. Rory birdied his putt, Rose parred for a putt, and thus Rory was our winner. And it's interesting with the 2025 Masters too, because I look back on the first day, on the Thursday back in 2025, and you could tell Rory was out with going out with a vengeance. He had something to prove. People were wondering if he was ever going to become a Grand Slam winner. There was just a lot of questions and uncertainty surrounding him. And I think he wanted to finally prove those people wrong. And something that I have noticed with Rory while watching him is that he can get off to a really great start. And then once the reality sets in and the dream suddenly becomes reality, then he starts to crumble. We saw that at the 2024 US Open, where he had a lead going into that final day. The putts just weren't falling in. He was hitting some bad shots. He just caught a he caught a bad break. And unfortunately, it was a break at the wrong time. And you could see heartbreak on his face when Bryson DeChambeau was crowned that major winner and he wasn't. And I think that really struck a nerve with him. Now, I don't personally know Rory. I can't speak as to what he exactly was feeling, but just looking at that heartbreak on his face, just seeing how devastated he was and the way he spoke about it afterwards, I have to imagine that when you come so close to winning your first major in 10 years and it doesn't happen, that is heartbreaking. I think any person would feel heartbroken and defeated seeing that happen to them. And not every golfer is perfect. Every golfer is going to have their bad days. It's just how do you come away from it and how do you walk away wanting to be better and not dwelling on the past too much. I believe at the Open, he played okay. He wasn't great at the 2024 Open, but he also didn't completely suck either. So again, it was middle ground. And I think going into the first major of 2025, again, just feeling the weight of Pinehurst #2 weighing heavily on him. He had something to prove not only to the public and to the golf world, but also to himself of like, can I finally do this? And he finally did it. Most of the golf world was happy for him. I was happy to see him finally get that green jacket and complete that Grand Slam because he's a great golfer who deserved it. He deserved that sense of closure of that chapter of his life. And now he's just playing golf more carefree and more like the Rory that we saw back in 2010 up to 2014. So that was very cool to see. I will admit that going into that final day of the 2025 Sunday Masters, there was part of me that was wondering, will he crumble again? Will we have a repeat of Pinehurst #2? He started off his final round with a double bogey right off the bat. So already through one hole was at +2. And I'm here thinking, oh no, like he's going to crumble again. And that final round was just a mixture of a roller coaster of highs and lows. But when it mattered the most in that last playoff hole, he had a great first shot in the hole previous to that, hole 18. He had a bad second shot. His third shot wasn't great, and then ended up, I believe, parring it or bogeying it. So when it came down to that playoff hole, he hit a great first shot. His second shot was better than the shot prior, and then his third shot for birdie fell into the hole, and boom, we had our green jacket winner. So that's a little bit of a recap on Rory there and his journey through the 2025 Masters. I'm looking here. Justin Rose finished second, obviously losing that playoff hole. And then a name that sticks out to me who finished a solo third was Patrick Reed. Now, Patrick Reed is a golfer on the LIV Tour. He left for LIV when the PGA was kind of break and LIV golf were divided. Some players left PGA to go play for LIV for either more money a lot of money was at stake, or they left just because they wanted to explore what the possibilities were of not having to play solely on just a single golf tour anymore. So I'm not going to say whether players were right or wrong for choosing live or choosing to remain loyal to the PGA. I certainly have opinions about it, but it's neither here nor there. But Patrick Reed finished at 8 under par. And what surprised me the most about it was the fact that Patrick Reed statistically has done pretty well in major tournaments. This is not the first time I've seen him in the top 10 of a major tournament. I believe he at the 2024 Masters he made the cut. He has been a major winner before, so it's not like he came completely out of the blue. But I also just wasn't expecting to see his name in the top five. I thought for sure that we would see Scotty Scheffler up there. We would see maybe like a Brooks Koepka up there or Bryson DeChambeau. And speaking of Bryson and Rory went into the final day of the last year's Masters with a share of the lead, or I believe Rory might have had an advantage over him, and Bryson was just oh, I believe Rory had a stroke above him, but I could be wrong. But I know that they went into that final round paired together, and obviously there's some shared history between the two going back to the 2024 US Open. So I have to assume that there wasn't necessarily bad blood, but there was some tension there, and someone was going to come out above as the underdog, and one of them was going to be the overhyped one. Just so happened that Rory proved to be the one to come out on top, and Bryson was the one who fell at the bottom. So that was just kind of the luck of the draw. They were pretty close together for the first 5, 6 holes, but towards the back nine, Rory slowly kept creeping his way up, whereas Bryson just got unlucky with some shots, made some bogeys, and just couldn't come back from that deficit once he where he found himself in. So Patrick Reed finished third at 8 under par last year. Scotty Scheffler finished fourth at 7 under par. Again, when you hear a name like Scotty Scheffler, he's the number one golfer in the world. He won the 2024 Masters, won the 2022 Masters, I believe, when Rory finished second. So if I said Rory finished second in 2023, I think it was 2022 actually, but Scotty is a two-time Masters winner. He's won the PGA Championship, and I believe he has also won the US Open, if I'm not mistaken. So he knows how it feels to win. So seeing Scotty in the top five, again, did not really surprise me. I thought he might repeat as the Masters champion. So it was a bit of a shock not to see his name at the very, very top come Sunday. But he's a phenomenal golfer. If you haven't seen him play golf before, I highly recommend doing so. And there's a reason why he's world number one. He's just that good. He has a great swing. He knows how to putt well. And obviously, his wife just gave birth to their second kid. So he's dealing with that now. I have to assume being a new dad again has caused a little bit of stress on him and his wife. But Scotty's always done a pretty good job of separating his personal life from his public life, which is golf. So great to see Scotty in the top five. And then we had a tied for fifth with Sungjae Im and Bryson DeChambeau at 7 under par. So did I say Patrick Reed was 8 under? I got those numbers mixed up, so my apologies there. Patrick Reed was 9 under, tied for third. Scotty was tied for fourth at 8 under, and then Sunjay and DeChambeau both tied for fifth at 7 under par. So those were the top five of last year's Masters tournament. It didn't surprise me to see Bryson in the top five again. He went into that final round either tied for the lead or one strode back from the lead, but he did finish four. He did finish four back of the winner, which was Rory. So finishing in the top five of a major championship is, in my opinion, is still an incredible feat. Am I a professional golfer? No. Do I know how it feels to play golf at a high level? No. But as a golf fan and a golf watcher, I think it's impressive when you can finish in the top five of any tournament, and that includes a major tournament here. So to see Sanjay finish in the top five, a name that I have not heard of in finishing like top five or top 10 in recent major championships, that was a delight for me. I love seeing new names come up at the top because it gives us a sense of what potential these golfers have, and to see them like shoot into fame and get the recognition that they deserve. That's not me saying that Rory didn't deserve his Masters win. He absolutely did, especially after the turmoil of the last couple of years between coming so close to winning majors and falling short, the merge between PGA and LIV. I think he was the PGA's scapegoat, for a better lack of words. He was stuck in the middle defending PGA with his heart and had strong opinions about LIV, and people used that against him. They used that to turn this narrative on Rory when Rory was just trying to remain loyal to the PGA Tour. So even that catching up to him and kind of being put to rest is just it's just the feeling of it's just the feeling of relief and the feeling that you can finally let go of something that's been burdening you and holding you back for so long. I love seeing Justin Rose finish out on the top. He's been a great golfer for years, really fun to watch, just has a high respect of the game and the people around him. So to see such a well-rounded individual also finish top three was a delight for me. I do have some opinions about Patrick Reed though, but again, when you're a great golfer and you finish in the top five of a tournament, uh, that's just a massive round of applause. At least to me. Maybe people don't feel that way. Other people might not feel that way, but that's just how I feel. So I believe we did a recap of our 2025 Masters. Now, if I look at my notes here, oh yeah, I did want to talk about some notable cuts from last year's Masters. These are just names that stuck out to me. We had Dustin Johnson, who is again a LIV golfer, great golfer. Did surprise me that he didn't play that well. Brooks Koepka. Brooks is a name to keep an eye out on. And I'm going to talk about Brooks in a little later on, as well as another golfer that I wanted to discuss when it comes to just major tournaments and winning again. But Brooks has often been described as one of the best major players in recent years. Now, has he won a couple of these majors? Yes, he has. I believe his last major win was the 2023 PGA Championship. But statistically speaking, Brooks has a pretty good track record of making cuts and playing really well in major tournaments. Same with Patrick Reed. Brooks has won before. He's won the PGA Championship. I believe he has also won the US Open, if I'm not mistaken, but just has statistically been a really great major player. I don't know how well he has played on the LIV Tour ever since he left the PGA for LIV, but he's a great golfer and can really be a deadly weapon when he is on. When he's on, other golfers just watch out because more often than not, you will get a really great Brooks Koepka playing some of his best golf of the season. And last year just wasn't that for Brooks. So that did come as a surprise to me. Cameron Young, another golfer who I was surprised missed the cut. 2025 was I'm not gonna say it was a bad year for Cameron Young, but seeing 2025 and the 2026 version of Cameron Young, he has arguably the biggest room for improvement. He just won the 2026 Players Invitational. The Players is often considered like the fifth major and like the first major, even though it's not an official major. But he won the Players, that counts for something. He's also previously won on the PGA Tour before, so I was kind of surprised to not see him make the cut, but also not surprised considering where his golf was at that moment in time. Sergio Garcia, Phil Mickelson, two other LIV players who've missed the cut. Phil has won the Masters before, but Phil is also a bit on the older side. So I can't say I was too shocked to see him miss the cut, but a previous Masters winner missing it does come as a bit of a surprise. Sergio Garcia, who also a Masters winner in the past, missing the cut too, comes as a shock. And then I also wrote down Billy Horschel as another golfer who I was surprised to see miss the cut. Now with Billy's had an off and on year on the PGA Tour. You don't often see his name on the very top, but he is a good golfer. I believe he just has some inconsistency that unfortunately comes back to bite him. So now that we've officially completed the 2025 Masters timeline, players making the cut, players missing the cut, whatnot, it's now time to discuss what's at stake for the 2026 Masters. I have three key points that I think we all need to keep an eye out on this year's Masters. And this is number one, starting off with who is going to win? You know, is Rory going to repeat again? My opinion, not necessarily. I know he's a great golfer. I know he's a career Grand Slam winner. I just think it's very hard to go back to back in a major tournament. And with Rory, too, he hasn't won on the PGA Tour yet this season. He might have won on the European Tour, but there's just other golfers who are hitting their prime at the right moment and are starting to hit their peak. And I don't think Rory has it in him just to go back to back as Masters winners. That's not me doubting him. That's not me saying that he can't do it. He can do it. I just think there's other golfers who have a little bit of an advantage over him. So Scotty is a name to keep an eye out on. Cameron Young is a name to keep an eye out on as to who could potentially be our 2026 Masters winner. Chris Gotterup is another name to keep an eye out on. He is a great putter. He has won on the PGA Tour already this season. He is finding his peak at the right moment, and with the right amounts of, calculations. And when I say calculations, I mean just not overthinking shots, really hitting the shots to near perfection, not messing up too much. He has potential to become a major winner this year. And what better way to do it at the first major of the season, the Masters. So Chris Gotterup is a name to keep an eye out on. Jordan Spieth is another name to keep an eye out on. And I say that because he has won a Masters before. He won the Masters in 2025. He is a two-time major winner, three-time major winner. He knows what it's like to win. He hasn't won a major in quite a few years now. I believe his last major win came in 2017, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. But he's still pretty young, and I use pretty young in quotation marks. He is in his 30s, so not quite as old as some of these other golfers, not quite as young as some of these young and upcoming golfers, but that's a pretty even ground for him. I think Jordan Spieth absolutely has potential to be a major winner again. And time is kind of running out for some of these golfers who either need to win another major tournament, who either need to just win in general, especially when you have amazing young talent coming up. These young golfers are not going to go away anytime soon. And that's both, relieving and a bit concerning when you have young golfers just hitting their peaks at the right time, slowly making their way up and have what it takes to remain relevant on the tour. For some of these other golfers, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's sad. That's a little bit scary. I don't wish for anyone to go irrelevant and have the golf world and just the world of sports in general forget their names. But it's now or never, especially in a time where social media is more present than ever, in a time where we're just seeing a lot of, I don't know what the right word for is. It's like we're living in our own version of the Matrix, right? Like where you're in one time zone and then the next second you're in just a whole nother different reality. That's the best way I could describe it. But those, again, maybe it's just me, but the world is changing every day and we just have to go along with the ride. That's the reality of 2026. But that's golfers to keep an eye out on here that said could potentially win the Masters this year. Key number 2 point is the golf fans need to come to the realization that not all golfers play the same. So if I'm going to use Rory again as an example. If every golfer followed Rory's routine, whether it be before go hitting up the tee box, if they practiced his swinging routine, practiced his putting routine, we would all just see the same golfers on our screen 24/7. No one wants to see that. Every golfer has their unique approach to the game. And that is okay. That could either be what they were taught, what they grew up watching, how their swing coaches, their putting coaches, chipping coaches, whatnot, told them to grip clubs or hold clubs in a certain way. I love seeing golfers approach their third game in different styles. I think it's fascinating to see their thought process and how they perceive the greens and their putts. Some golfers putt holding like their putter with this and going swinging like that. Bryson DeChambeau is an example of who putts like that. Lucas Glover putts like that. Those are just the two names that come to my mind straight away. Other golfers just grip their clubs and just putt, a certain way. That Rory does that. Jordan Spieth does it. Tommy Fleetwood putts like that. So each golfer has their unique swing, has their unique shot, has their unique putt. Not every golfer is going to putt the same way. They might see a lie differently. They might either make that or they might miss it left or right. So neither way is right or wrong, but we just have to understand and realize that just because your favorite golfer chips a certain way doesn't mean every golfer needs to chip that way, if that makes sense. They approach their game how they want to approach their game. That's why they have caddies to tell them what clubs to pick up, what to hit, how they should maybe go about their approach to their second, third shots, whatnot. So I think we just need to have basic understanding that golfers are not going to golf the same way. and we need to recognize that and maybe just be a little more accepting of golfers who swing differently and putt differently than other golfers. Don't make fun of them. You're being a bully at that point. And I'm under the mindset of that athletes, social media stars, influencers, celebrities, whatnot, deal with a lot of scrutiny on social media. Unfortunately, that just comes with the job. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, other social media platforms, Blue Sky, whatnot. They can be very toxic. Social media is toxic. It's been toxic for a long time now. I wish that wasn't the case, but the best advice that I could give for people who are on social media is that don't go on social media a lot, if not at all, if you don't want to see mean stuff said about you. I have to imagine that these celebrities, influencers, athletes, whatnot, have some sort of body of steel where they can handle the hate comments, can handle the mean comments. They are much stronger than what I think we realize. Doesn't make it okay to say hateful or hurtful stuff about other people. Just be kind. Spreads we need more positivity in the world. We already have enough hate. So that's my little rant there. And then takeaway number 3 for the 2026 Masters here. We going back to kind of the social media of it all and staying relevant. I talked about young golfers kind of fighting their primes right away. Some of these young amateur golfers, especially, could become big names in the next couple of years. And I think this is going to be the last year where we're going to see a relevant golfer win a major tournament. And I don't say this with the intention of sounding disrespectful or sounding mean, but when I think of relevant golfers, I think of golfers who have had their names kind of floating around in the PGA and being on top of the PGA tour in general. I could go to the LIV tour as well. I think of relevant golfers who have made cuts in major tournaments, who have made the cuts in past tournaments before, finished either in the top 50 of these tournaments, top 25 in others. And I think of golfers who people love to talk about positively. With Rory, you can talk about him positively and negatively. I believe that still makes him relevant because people are still talking about him, whether good or bad. Justin Rose is relevant. Jordan Spieth is relevant. Bryson DeChambeau is relevant. Trying to think, Brooks Koepka, another kind of relevant golfer here. So we're kind of seeing the end of relevant golfers, and we're seeing the rise of upcoming and promising golfers. I think of Cameron Young, for example, again. I think of Ludvig Aberg, our Swedish golfer who finished in the top 10 of last year's Masters. I think of, I'm trying to think, I think of Tommy Fleetwood, who won on the PGA Tour for the first time last year. I think he's starting to become relevant again. Over on the LIV side, I'm trying to think of names here. I think of kind of Cameron Smith on the LIV Tour. I think of Sergio Garcia when I think of, upcoming and promising golfers who have the potential to make a name for themselves again. So those are the types of golfers where you have the relevancy and you have the young, the promising, and the upcoming golfers. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Could we see a relevant or old golfer win the PGA championship this year? Absolutely. Could we see a name like Brooks Koepka win the US Open? Absolutely. Could we see a guy such as Patrick Reed win the Open? Yes. So it's not out of the equation. I just think that in a time now where young people are really kind of taking over, we're not going to see these relevant and the golfers that we grew up watching finishing out on the top anymore. We might see it every once in a while. I just don't think it's going to become, the norm. So hopefully with the Masters this year, we will see a common golfer win again. But with that said, I also want to see a new golfer, a new name win the PGA Championship this year too. I want to see that. I just want to see new faces every year at every tournament, whether it be the Masters, the PGA Championship, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the Open, the US Open, the FedEx Championship, all of these golf tournaments here. I want to see new faces and new names pop up on my screen because it makes me feel excited for the sport. And I know that good things are coming from the sport where new faces and new names are getting their shot at fame and getting some recognition that they have dreamed of. So those are my three takeaways from the 2026 Masters this year, or some three keys to what I think the Masters will end up being. Let's make some predictions though about who is going. Did we make predictions about who is going to win already? I think I did actually. So let's close out with some final thoughts here. And that is the current leaderboard at the Masters tournament. Again, I'm recording this on a Friday. So I was hoping to have this recorded like on a Wednesday before all the Masters talk. I just got too busy, so it didn't end up happening. But as of right now, as of me recording, Rory is in first place at 7 under par. I'm going to show you guys. These are all my notes of the talking points I wanted to talk about because I gotta outline these things so I kind of stay on track and don't bear off guard. But we have Rory 7 under par right now. Tied for second is Sam Burns and Justin Rose at 5 under par. And tied for fourth, there's four players tied for fourth: Jason Day, Patrick Reed, Wyndham Clark, and Terrell Hatton, all at 4 under par. So we'll see. It's still early. I don't know what the cut is right now, but I'm going to assume it's either 3 over or 4 over par, just seeing where some of the other golfers at the bottom are. So again, we'll keep an eye out on that. So that brings me to my one last talking point that I want to talk about before we end this episode. And it is who needs to win the most. I believe I talked on last year's episode where I talked about just the Masters tournament and Rory's victory of some of these names who need to either win a major again or just win next year's Masters. Now, Rory completed the career Grand Slam already. That was a weight off of his shoulders. And I talked about briefly Jordan Spieth and Brooks Koepka. Those are my two golfers who I think absolutely either have to win the Masters this year or win a major tournament soon. Jordan Spieth is very close to completing his own career Grand Slam. And the one tournament he needs to win is the PGA Championship. If he wins that this year, he will join the list of Rory, of Tiger, of Jack Nicklaus, the golfers before him, as the only players to win all four major tournaments. The PGA Championship is probably more important to Jordan Spieth, obviously, but if you winning the Masters and then playing well in a major tournament and winning the Masters and then heading into the PGA Championship with that sense of victory and feeling that you're playing great golf, gives him a little bit of an advantage. So I absolutely believe Jordan Spieth needs to win another major tournament, especially being so close to that career Grand Slam. It's been a while since I've seen him play well in a major tournament. So that's another reason why I think he needs to win one again soon and fast. And finally, Brooks Koepka. Brooks, I thought about Brooks being one of the most recent major, great major players. Obviously, has won a few majors before, but it's it's been since 2023 since he last won the PGA Championship. I think he needs to win another major to stay relevant. And what better way to do that than this year's Masters? He knows how it feels to play on the big stage. He's been a great major player. I've talked about this already, and I'm going to keep on reinforcing it because it's important. He could go down as one of the greatest major players of his era. That's not a stretch. That's not me overhyping him or whatnot. I do think that of Brooks. I think highly of Brooks Koepka as a golfer. I don't think very highly of him as a person and his morals ever since rejoining the PGA Tour and leaving behind Live. Some of that does stem from, the money and the greed that he had back then. But he just to stay relevant, I think he needs to win another major. He hasn't had a great track record on Live Golf. He's talked openly about it before of just kind of finding it hard to balance the golf aspect and the family aspect of it and just being in a good mindset. I think Brooks needs this to, kind of come back around full circle and join the victory in a way. So those are my two golfers who I think need to win either the Masters or a major tournament. So maybe it'll be Brooks at the Masters this year. Maybe it'll be Jordan Spieth at the PGA Championship next month. Who knows? And that's the beauty of it. We don't know, and it's going to come as a surprise to all of us. So, with that, that concludes our 2026 Masters episode. Again, thanks for listening to me talk about golf. This was really fun. If you're not a golf fan, hopefully I didn't bore you too much, but hopefully you learned a little something as well. I once again apologize for not have putting out episodes on a regular basis. I'm very busy at the moment, so it's kind of hard to find free time to do one of these, but I'm glad that I could do it. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I do main episodes of my podcast on there talking about sports. Sometimes I do like life advice episodes where I just give life advice. Sometimes I do relationship advice. Sometimes I just like to post random videos talking about things that I like. So it's a little bit all over the place, but hopefully I give you some variety as well. You can also check out these episodes on Spotify under the Annabelle Schneider 21. I have my whole Ace for Waves episode kind of playlist underneath there. This one is not going to be audio only. I realized as I started talking, I forgot to record on my phone for audio stuff. So this is just full video, hopefully with some side notes here and post-production. So I'll do a little bit of editing. But with that, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'll catch you on a new video soon. Take care. Bye.